Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. D.V. Prasad from Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak. Today we will discuss about the module Institution, Association, Group, Status, Role, Norms and Values from paper Social Cultural Anthropology. So students, let us see what we are going to learn in this module. First of all, you shall be able to get an informative background about the basic concepts of social anthropology, such as institution, association, groups, status, role, norms and values. You will also learn the conceptual meaning, definition, nature and characteristic features of the institution, association, norms and values. And this module also provides knowledge about the entire descriptive understanding of the institution, association, norms and values. Further, this module is having two objectives: to give a basic understanding to the students about the basic concepts being used in social anthropology, such as institution, association, group, status, role, norms and values. Further, it also attempts to provide an informative background about the conceptual meaning, definitions, nature and characteristic features of each these term. The concept of institution is one of the most important in the entire fields of sociology. Patterns of activity reproduced across time and space. Institutions often concerns basic living arrangements that human beings work out in the interaction with one another, by means of which continuity is achieved across generations. Institutions are also known as the basic building blocks of a society. Social institutions are like buildings that are at every moment constantly being reconstructed by the very bricks that compose them. Unfortunately, it is a concept that has not been consistently used by sociologists. The importance of understanding the concept of institution in order to understand the society is at the same time recognized by all the sociologists. In fact, Durkheim has gone to the extent of defining sociology as the science of social institutions. Sumner and Keller have said folkways are to be the society, that what cells are to be the biological organism. Institutions are its bones and tissues. F. H. Giddings regards institution as the organs of the conserve what is best in the past of human race. Concept and definitions of institution. According to Ginsberg, institutions may be described as recognized and established usages governing the relations between individuals and groups, whereas McKeever and Page have defined institutions as the established forms of or conditions of procedure, characteristics of group activity. According to Kingsley Davis, institutions can be defined as a set of interwoven folkways, mores, and laws built around one or more functions. H. E. Barnes defined institutions as the social structure and the machinery through which human society organizes, directs, and executes the multifarious activities required to satisfy human needs. According to C.A. Elwood, institutions are the habitual ways of living together which have been sanctioned, systematized, and established by the authority of communities. The characteristics of institutions. The institutions have the following characteristics, that is, social in nature, universality. Institutions are standardized norms. Institutions as means of satisfying needs. Institutions are the controlling mechanisms, relatively permanent. Institutions are abstract in nature. Institutions are synthesizing symbols. So, of this, first and foremost is social in nature. Institutions come into being due to the collective activities of the people. They are essentially social in nature. After all, institutions are the products of secular, repetitive forms of social relationships of the individuals. Universality. Social institutions are ubiquitous. They exist in all the societies at all the stages of social development. The basic institutions like family, religion, property, and some kind of political institutions are observed even in the tribal or primitive society. When it comes to third characteristic, institutions are standardized norms. An institution must be understood as standardized procedures and norms. They prescribe the way of doing things. They also prescribe rules and regulations that are to be followed. When it comes to the institutions as a means of satisfying needs, institutions are established by men themselves. They cater to the satisfaction of some basic needs of man. These basic needs are the need for self preservation, self perpetuation, and self expression. When it comes to the another character, controlling mechanisms, institutions like religion, morality, state, government, law, etc. control the behavior of man. These mechanisms preserve the social order and give stability to it. Institutions are like wheels on which human society marches on towards the desired destination. Another character reveals that is permanent. Institutions do not undergo sudden or rapid changes. Changes takes place slowly and gradually in them. Many institutions are rigid and enduring, though in course of time they become conservative elements in society. When institutions are abstract in nature, institutions are not external, visible or tangible things. They are abstract. Thus, marriage cannot be kept in a museum and religion cannot be rated or quantified. And oral and written traditions. Institutions may persist in the form of oral and or written traditions. For the primitive societies, they may be largely oral, but in modern complex societies, they may be observed in written as well as unwritten forms. There may be written institutional forms like constitution, sacred textbooks, syllabus, government orders, etc. When another characteristic is that synthesizing symbol. Institutions may have their own symbols, material or non-material. For example, state has flag, emblem, national anthem as its symbol. Religion may have its own symbol like crucifix, crescent, star, swastika, etc. And institutions are interrelated. Though institutions are diverse, they are interrelated. Understanding of one institution requires the understanding of other related institutions. For example, religious, educational, political, economic, and other types of institutions are essentially interlinked. Types of institutions. Institutions are classified into primary institutions and secondary institutions. The most basic institutions which are found even in primitive societies like religion, family, marriage, property, some kind of political system are primary in character. As societies grow in size and complexity, institutions become progressive and more differentiated. The secondary institutions, the complex institutions of society which are made to satisfy the secondary needs of human beings are called secondary institutions. For example, education, examination, law, legislation, constitution, parliamentary procedure, business, etc. Association. When a group or collection of individuals organizes itself expressly for the purpose of pursuing certain of its interests together on a cooperative pursuit, an association is said to be born. Men try to fulfill their ends through cooperation and mutual assistance. An association is a group of people organized for achievement of a particular interest or interests. Men have several interests, hence they establish different associations to fulfill them. Definition of association. According to R.M. McIver, an institution is an organization deliberately formed for the collective pursuit of some interest or a set of interests which its members share. Another definition was given by Maurice Ginsburg. An association is a group of social beings related to one another by the fact that they possess or have instituted in common an organization with a view to securing a specific end or ends. Main characteristic of association. Some of the characteristics like association, a human group, common interests, cooperative spirit, organization, regulation of relations, association as agencies, durability of association are evident in day-to-day life. Comes to first characteristic, that is association as human group. An association is formed or created by people. It is basically a social group. Without people, there can be no association. However, all groups are not associations because an association is basically an organized group. Unorganized group like crowd or mob cannot be an association. The second feature is common interest. An association is not merely a collection of individuals. It consists of those individuals who have more or less the same interests. Accordingly, those who have political interests may join political associations, and those who have religious interests may join religious associations, and so on. When it comes to third feature of association, the cooperative spirit. An association is based on the cooperative spirit of its members. People work together to achieve some definite purposes. For example, a political party has to work together as a united group on the basis of cooperation in order to fulfill its objective of coming to power. Then comes to another characteristic feature of association, that is organization. Association denotes some kind of organization. An association is known essentially as an organized group. Organization gives stability and proper shape to association. Organization refers to the way in which statuses and roles are distributed among the members. Then regulation of relations. Every association has its own ways and means of regulating the relations of its members. Organization depends on this element of regulation. They may be assumed, written or unwritten forms. Another characteristic is that associations as agencies. Associations are means or agencies through which their members seek to realize their similar or shared interests. Such social organizations necessarily act not merely through leaders but through officials, representatives as agencies. Then comes to durability of association. An association may be permanent or temporary. There are some long-standing associations like state, family, religious association, etc. Some associations may be purely temporary in nature. For example, writers association, scientists, religious leaders, and associations created for performing some social, religious, and other ceremony on a grand scale. Social groups. A social group is any number of people who share common goals and norms. A true group exhibits some degree of social cohesion and is more than a simple collection of individuals, such as people waiting at a bus stop. In other words, a group refers to two or more people regularly interacting on the basis of shared expectations of others' behavior, interrelated statuses, and roles. The characteristics shared by members of a group may include interests, values, representations, ethnic or social background, and kinship ties. Groups definitions. Harry M. Johnson says that a social group is a system of interaction. When it comes to Marshall Jones defined the groups in the sense that a social group is two or more people between whom there is an established pattern of interaction, whereas R.M. McIver and Page define social group as any collection of human groups, human beings who are brought into human relationship with one another. According to Akban and Nimkov, whenever two or more individuals come together and influence one another, they may be said to constitute a social group. Amorius Bogardas defines social group as number of persons who are more who have common objects of attention, who are stimulating to each other, and we have common loyalty and participate in similar activities. Characteristics of group. The following are the chief characteristics of a group. They are mainly collection of individuals, interaction among members, mutual awareness, group unity and solidarity, common interest, similar behavior, group norms, and dynamic in nature. First of all, collection of individuals. Social group consists of people. Without individuals, there can be no group, just as we cannot have a college or university without students and teachers. We cannot have a group in the absence of people. Comes to the second characteristic, that is interaction among members. Social interaction is the very basic of group life. Hence, mere collection of individuals does not make a group. The members must have interaction. A social group is in phase of system of social interaction. Then comes to mutual awareness. Group life involves mutual awareness, and group members are aware of one another and their behavior is determined by this mutual recognition. This may be due to what Giddings call the consciousness of kind. When it comes to group unity and solidarity, the group members are tied by a sense of unity. Solidarity and integration of a group is largely dependent upon the frequency, the variety, and the emotional quality of the interaction of its members. A family or friends group, a religious group is highly united and integrated because its members are related by several common interests. Then comes to the another feature, common interests. The interests and ideals of a group are common. Groups are mostly formed or established for the fulfillment of certain interests. In fact, men not only join groups but also form group for the realization of other objectives or interests. Forms of the groups differ depend upon the common interests. Hence, there are political groups, religious groups, economic groups, and educational groups, and so on. Another characteristic feature is that similar behavior. The group members behave in more or less similar way for the pursuit of common interests. Social group represent collective behavior. And comes to group norms. Every group has its own rules and norms which the members are supposed to follow. These norms may be in the form of customs, folkways, mores, traditions, conventions, etc. They may be written or unwritten norms or standards. Every group has its own ways and means of punishing or correcting those who go against the rules. Groups are dynamic. Social groups are not static but dynamic. They are subjected to changes, whether slow or rapid. Old members die and new members are born. Whether due to internal or external pleasures or forces, groups undergo changes. Classification of groups. The groups are classified into primary and secondary groups, in groups and out groups, horizontal and vertical groups. Primary and secondary groups, on the basis of nature and quality of social interaction, groups are divided into primary and secondary. The name C.H. Cooley is very much associated with this classification. Primary group refers to most fundamental and basic social groups, which are based on direct relation and face-to-face interaction. For example, family. Then comes to secondary groups, on the other hand, are not fundamental. They do not possess direct interaction among the members, but have relevant role in maintaining social relationships. Whereas in groups and out groups concept was given by W.G. Seminar in his book Folkways. In group is simply the we group and out group is the they group. And this classification is more subjective. When it comes to horizontal and vertical groups, P.S. Sorokin has divided groups into these types. The former are large inclusive groups, for example, nations, religious organizations. The latter are smaller divisions, such as economic classes. Status, conceptual meaning. Social status consists of a ranked position in a social hierarchy or stratification system and an individual's social standing in society. A status, as distinct from the individual who may occupy it, is simply a collection of rights and duties. In simple terms, a status of person is known as a social position. Definitions of status. According to Donald A. Hobbs and Stuart J. Blank, status is a defined position in the social structure that is distinguished from, at the same time, related to other positions. Each status is linked to a social role, that is a pattern of behavior expected of one who occupies a status. According to D. Popne, status is a social position in a social system. Ralph Linton has defined that the term status, like the term culture, has come to be used with a double significance. Role conceptual meaning. Historically speaking, the concept of role was first introduced by Pareto in 1916. Role behavior is something translated into action. Roles and status are complemented concepts. Definitions of role. According to R.H. Roher and M. Sharif, social roles are part and parcel of an individual's behavior when interacting with other people in various situations. According to Ralph Linton, a set of expectations and behaviors associated with a specific position in a social system. As mentioned by S.F. Nadel, a role represents the dynamic aspect of a status when he puts the rights and duties which constitutes the status into effect. Values. Values are lifestyle priorities. Since values lies behind all the choices we make, it follows the very core of the life we have created for ourselves through the choices we have made. Thus, through values, we express what is important in our life, and when we are true to our values, the lifestyle we live is our expression of these values. We hold the values we do and believe in certain principles related to the way things work in this world. So, students, let us summarize this module. In this module, so far you have learned about the basic concepts like institution, association, group, status, role, norms and values. In the first instance, you have learned about institution, meaning and definition, and its characteristic features and various types of institutions. First of all, there are so many anthropologists and sociologists, they have defined institution from different perspective. They are mainly Ginsberg, McIver and Page, Kingsley Davis and H.E. Barnes. They all given the definitions, but the crux of the definitions is the same, that is, the institutions are the social structure and the machinery through which human organizes and directs and execute the multifarious activities required to satisfy human needs. Then comes to, he has there is a wide variety of characteristics of institution. We have learned, that is, institutions are social in nature, universality, institutions are standardized norms, and institutions are means to satisfy human needs, and institutions are controlling mechanisms, and they are relatively permanent and abstract in nature and synthesizing symbols. Then comes to, you have also learned about association, wherein R.M. McIver, Maurice Ginsburg, etc., have given definitions of associations. Then the associations also have different characteristics, like it is a human group having a common interest and cooperative spirit, organization, regulation of relations, and associations as agencies and having durability. Then comes to, we have also learned social groups, wherein Harry M. Johnson, Marshall Jones, R. M. McIver and Page, Akban and Nimkov, Emory S. Bogardas, they defined the social groups from different perspectives, but the crux of the definitions are same. When comes to the characteristics of social group, it is the collection of individuals, interaction among the members, and mutual awareness and group unity and solidarity and common interests, similar behavior, etc., are comes under this group. And then comes to norms, norms, status, role, values, the similar kind of definitions, meanings, and its characteristics so far you have learned. In the role and values, you have learned the same meaning and definition. Apart from this, there is a distinction between roles and values and its meaning relationship between values, norms, behaviors, and ethics. Thank you, students.